Ladies and gentlemen, take a seat, please. Thank you all for coming, and welcome to NAACP Fort Lauderdale Broward Branch's Judicial Candidates Forum. Wanted to make sure we have some rules in order. This is a church. It is a house of worship. It is sacred ground, so make sure that you are not using language that will disrespect this church and certainly the angel of this house and their members. One of the reasons that we have it in churches so that we can make sure that does not happen. Should you decide to do something differently, you will be asked and then removed, because we're going to do things decent and in order as we do it in our community. And with that, we will do as we always do. Come on in, sir. See, the Sigmas always think they got precious privileges when they up in here. Come on in and have a seat. Mark, get your people. Just because the pastor with y'all, you just, And let us thank Mount Hermon once again. And just to know that this is the home of the NAACP. Our very first meeting was held in this church. It was at a time in 1945 when no one would allow the NAACP to meet, because certainly those that thought that we were not first-class citizens were burning down churches. And so this church allowed us, when nobody else would, to meet. And so it's always like coming home here. I want to introduce you now, Pastor Trey, who is the pastor of this church and certainly a friend of the community and NAACP member. Not my favorite, Pastor Hughes. His daddy is, but we love him nonetheless. Come on, Pastor. Let's thank him for opening his doors.
Well, all right. My father enjoys hearing that every time I tell him, so it doesn't go unnoticed. And we thank you, President Ellison, for choosing to come here. On behalf of the officers and the members of Mount Hermon, we welcome you to the greatest church on this side of heaven. Amen. We are a multi-generational congregation serving in a 21st century community, and we are blessed to have our community participate in this civic engagement. We want everybody to go to the polls, not with what you learn from the internet, but what you have understood with your intellect, meaning that you are informed voters who know the process and know the platforms and making good, sound decisions for yourselves. So on behalf of the members, once again, we thank you. Feel welcome. Despite what some of the signs may say, all the facilities are working. So some of y'all, you got here a little bit late, so you didn't see. But whatever case may be, feel free, feel at home, be comfortable, and welcome to Mount Hermon. Oh, let me pray. I got to pray. Father God, we thank you. Thank you for waking us up this morning. And if we don't thank you for anything else, we want to start right there. God, thank you for just waking us up this morning. The greatest gift is when you touched us with your finger of love and have guided us with your holy hand. Now, God, as we come here today, we ask for a spirit of unity to abound, a spirit of information to spread. And right now, God, give us a place in this seat, in the judge's seat, God, where there's a place of grace, a place for mercy, a place for humility, so that our community can be a better place. This is our prayer we ask for. In Jesus' name we pray. And it's for all other faiths as well. Amen.
And so every year, and this year is no exceptions, we get texts from our membership asking who are these folk who are asking for our vote for judge. And rather than simply sending a list that I might personally desire, we offer opportunities for our community to find out for themselves who the individuals are that are asking for their votes. We would not insult our community by trying to tell them who to vote for. We are not monoliths. We understand. And so that is important when you have folk asking for your vote. Oftentimes with politicians, you'll see them come to our church, get that shot out, don't see them again. Or if they attend an event, you don't see them again for another 6 years. We remember we haven't seen you. And we often think, so you just coming here now? And we remember. But I wanted to give folk an opportunity to know who the candidates are. We have a series of questions that we will ask each candidate. We will begin with a 1-minute self-introduction. The person sitting at the table at the time will be only those candidates in each group. The county will go first, circuit will go last, and we will call, you'll have names for most, particularly if you RSVP'd. If you did not, perhaps not so much. But we certainly want everyone to have an opportunity to see you and understand the importance of seeing and answering questions, and know, because justice matters, judge matters, and in this county, the Black vote matters. And we understand that. We are nonpartisan, but we are very political because we're not blind. We do not endorse candidates, but we do share the information so that the community will know who you are, and through your actions will tell us who you really are. Sometimes we can't hear what you're saying because we're too busy watching what you're doing and what you have done. And so we will start with Group 6. I think that is Judge McHugh and Mr. Scott Russell Shapiro. Okay. I think you have to hold the button down until you see the green light. Push it up. Yours are a little different. I think it's on. You're good. Yes. Thank you. Okay. 1 minute self-introduction. Ms. Burrows here, our first vice president of this branch, is the timer. And when you see that your time is up, please finish your thought, as long as there's only a couple syllables, and then we will move on to the next. Let us start with McHugh, Judge McHugh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Judge Kathleen McHugh. I've been honored to serve as your Broward County Court Judge for the last 12 years. I'm a hometown candidate, 56 years. I graduated from Cardinal Gibbons High School in 1986. I went on to Florida State University, go Noles. In 1990, I obtained my Bachelor's of Science in Criminology. I came home to Broward and obtained my Juris Doctorate degree from Nova Southeastern University in 1994. I began my career of public service work at the Broward County Public Defender's Office in 1995. While there, I was awarded Trial Attorney of the Year for the highest number of jury trials in 1 year. I worked for the Broward County Public Defender for 3 years. After service there, I went into private practice for 15 years, doing criminal and civil work, small claims, commercial litigation, family law, divorce, restraining orders. In 2012, I was blessed by the people of Broward County to be elected your county court judge and have served
Thank you.
for 12 years, and I appreciate your vote again. Thank you.
Thank Thank you. Okay. Mr. Shapiro.
Hi, everyone. My name is Scott Shapiro. I'm running for judge against Judge McHugh. I'm also from South Florida. I grew up in Broward County. I graduated from Stoneman Douglas High School. I then went on to the University of Florida for college, and then I graduated from the University of Miami for law school. My first apartment out of law school was right across Broward here in Sailboat Bend. And since 2005, I've been practicing real estate litigation. For about 5 years, I hosted a radio show locally that helped citizens with their everyday real estate problems. It was called Condo Craze and HOAs. It's still on, but another attorney's hosting it. As I said, yeah, real estate and contract law is basically what I've been practicing for the last couple of decades. I want to be a judge because I think I'd be an asset to the bench here in Broward because I can bring some extra expertise to some of the most important issues that the county's facing, because there are a number of problems that need special attention. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, first question. What makes you unique, the best choice for the position that you're seeking or seeking to retain? We'll start with Mr. Shapiro.
Well, thank you. I guess I'll just continue with what I was talking about. As you might remember, back in 2008, 2010, we had a pretty severe foreclosure crisis down here in Florida. And there's a possibility it may happen again. There's a number of new laws coming into play next year that if the state doesn't change them, there's going to be some relatively heavy foreclosure work coming again. And during that time, I was in court every day. I was either defending people or prosecuting against people representing condo associations. And the things I saw at the courthouse really disturbed me. There was an awful lot of people showing up pro se by themselves without an attorney and not having their rights protected by the court. In a lot of cases, just about every case, it wasn't because the judges wished anybody ill will. They were doing the best they can. There were just so many cases that people slipped through the cracks. Now, here's the thing. I have a pretty good background in that type of law. I know the statutes like the back of my hand, and I think I can be the best person to protect the rights of all parties in front of me when it comes to that, as well as any other civil matters that come before the civil court.
Thank you. Judge McHugh.
At the age of 13 years old, I was given some devastating news. I was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease. For those of you who don't know, that's called juvenile macular degeneration. This is a disease that affects probably 65% of the elderly population. It causes a loss of central vision. I was told two things. There's no cure, and you're never going to drive a car. My best corrected vision is 2200 in both eyes. Because of this disease, I've developed a strong sense of compassion and mercy for people who have physical challenges. Especially serving in the criminal division, many times I'm given mitigation evidence that I have to weigh against the needs and interests of the other party. And being afflicted with this disease gives me that compassion and mercy to weigh the needs and interests of those who are less fortunate and to administer justice in the best way that I know how. So I think that's what makes me different, is that when I see somebody who has a physical challenge, whether it be mental illness or any other handicap, my heart goes out to them, and I feel them, and I see them. Thank you.
Next question. The American Bar Association and the Florida Supreme Court encourage judges to be active in their communities as long as your activities don't violate the canons. What community activities are you currently engaged in? Judge McHugh.
I've served on the board of directors for the Lighthouse of Broward for 6 years. mic keeps cutting out. For those of you who are not familiar with the Lighthouse of Broward, that's an organization that serves the needs and interests of the blind and visually impaired children and adults in the community. Prior to that, I was a member of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, fulfilling the heartfelt wishes of children with life-threatening medical conditions. I've also helped with the Habitat for Humanity organization and the Kiwanis Club of Fort Lauderdale. So those are some of my community interests and involvement.
Thank you. Mr. Shapiro.
Suffice to say, I don't have anything as remarkable as what to tell you about that, like Judge McHugh just told you. For the last 19 years, I've been practicing law, and I've had to pay the bills, and I've been working 6 days a week pretty often. That doesn't mean I couldn't have gotten out there, but I help when I can when people are around and they ask me for it, or I encounter a situation that really deserves help. I suppose running for office and possibly becoming a judge would open me up to a lot of opportunities to help the community in different ways, especially not working on Saturdays would be fun. And I'd be more than anxious to take part and get people to know me better. Again, Judge McHugh has got quite the resume there. I can't stack up to it with respect to that, but I think I have a lot ahead of me to do, and I look forward to doing it.
Thank you. Next question. The chief judge makes the division assignments, but if you could choose your dream division assignment, what division would that be and why? Mr. Shapiro.
Well, civil division, that's what we're running for here. If we were running for criminal, I wouldn't be running for the office. I have absolutely no qualifications to be a judge in criminal court. Perhaps I'd like to be a part of the complex commercial litigation division that you'll hear about later from Judge Phillips. I think that's probably where my experience would be best served. That usually has to do with cases that have multiple defendants, multiple plaintiffs, and issues that are a little bit more technical than your average slip and fall case or landlord-tenant case. But civil division is just fine for me, general civil, and that's why I'm running for a seat in the general civil division. Thank you.
Judge McHugh.
I had the honor of serving in my dream division for 9 years. I was a trial attorney before I became a judge. And so I love trial work. So when Judge Weinstein asked me, will you please head the domestic violence division? I said, yes, absolutely. It is historically the highest trial division. There's 90 judges in Broward County, and this division is usually in the top 3 as far as the highest number of jury trials per year. So it was my dream to sit up there and preside over all of these trials. I love trial work. In 1 year alone, I think I had 38 jury trials back to back. And I was able to expeditiously resolve cases in that division. I would have a jury in the jury room deliberating and another jury in the courtroom trying a second case. So it was my dream to preside in a high trial division, and I did that honor for 9 years. So thank you, Judge Weinstein, for placing me there.
Thank you. Next question. Have you been disciplined by the Supreme Court as an attorney or a judge? And if yes, when, for what, and what was the final sanction? McHugh.
Never have, never will.
Mr. Shapiro.
No.
Okay. Good news. Next question. The Florida bar requires that attorneys provide 30 hours of pro bono, free to the poor, representation annually. What have you done in the last year to fulfill this requirement? Mr. Shapiro.
Okay. I usually make the requirement every year. I don't know if this year I've done about 30 or more. Usually it's a little bit more than 30, frankly. Typically what happens with me is I don't do it through any organization or anything like that. Typically what happens is I get somebody calling me if they have a case, and it's a case that me or my firm really don't handle. But if it's a real dire situation and it's something I really feel strongly about, like a real issue, it's usually people getting bullied by like their condominium association or something like that. And I usually step in and write some letters, and even once I'll go all the way to appellate court for someone pro bono. That was a long time ago. It cost me a lot of money. I'm glad I did it, but ooh, I had second thoughts every step of the way. But yeah, I take cases as they come in, and if I think they're worthy, and obviously if the person bringing it to me cannot afford a private attorney.
Judge, I know you've done some volunteering. What is, in your capacity of a judge, some volunteer hours you've done?
Countless hours. When I was on the board of directors for the Lighthouse of Broward, we would do a lot of events. One of the events we would do would be dining in the dark, where members of the community would come in and they would actually dine in the dark. We would blindfold them, and we would have persons escort them to their seats while they're blindfolded. They would eat dinner while they were blindfolded. And while I was on the board of directors, we would help fundraise for that event. And it was a huge event. We probably would raise close to $200,000 for this event and give back to the people of Broward County to serve them through the Lighthouse of Broward. So it's a really wonderful event for people to experience what it's actually like to be blind or visually impaired, and to actually eat a meal while you're blind is an amazing experience. And for those of you who have never done it, dining in the dark is usually October of every year. I would encourage any of you to come out and support the Lighthouse if you've never done it. It's a wonderful organization, and it's a wonderful event.
Thank you. Last question. Mental health has become an issue in every profession. What do you do to balance your work life along with your judicial activities?
I turn off my phone. That's probably been the phone's been the bane of my existence for the last 2 decades. I wish I grew up in the 1950s or 60s and was an attorney back then when you weren't on call 24 hours. But, you know, you go with the flow. But I try to be upfront with clients that you can't really contact me on the weekends or anytime after 7 o'clock. So that's basically how I make my space for myself. Mentally, I try to enjoy myself when I can. And, you know, just nothing different than any one of you guys would do to, you know, keep yourself sane. Try to enjoy your family, your friends, you know, relax a little bit, but, you know, don't relax too much or you'll forget about the things you need to do. But no, nothing special. Just working and relaxing and just hoping to make it to the next day.
Thank you. Judge McHugh.
Every morning I begin my day with a yoga routine, and I turn on meditation. So I begin with yoga and meditation. And if I have time in the evening, I'll do a HIIT cardio routine or go work out in my gym. I also love to walk. So you might see me walking through my neighborhood. I live in downtown Fort Lauderdale. I love to walk. And it's kind of hot right now, so I don't go for as long of walks as I'd like to, but I do love to walk as well.
Thank you. And finally, let's go a minute and a half. Tell us anything you want to tell us as you're asking for our vote. 1 minute and a half. Anything that you can finally convince us that you are the best candidate.
All right. Well, earlier Judge McHugh mentioned empathy, and I think that's something that's very important for all judges to have, not just for the people before them, but for everybody that's affected by their rulings. Sometimes it's the family of people who are before the court. Sometimes it's businesses that depend upon people who might lose their business in court, in a civil court. You gotta be aware not just of the issues before you, but the issues that could possibly affect others. And really understand that every decision you make might not be a big decision for you as a judge, but it's the whole world to some of the people who are before you. And if you are deliberate in your decision making and really taking a 360-degree view of the entire situation every time you make a decision. I think you'll probably be coming out on top more times than not. I think I do that. People have told me I do that. I never had the chance to prove myself as a judge. I sure would like it. As I said before, I think I bring an adequate amount of special expertise to some of the issues that are confronting the community, and I think I'd be a really devoted judge, and I'd be around for a long, long time. If you'll please, think about voting for me. That's Scott Shapiro, Group 6.
Thank you. Judge Mejia.
Experience matters. I've presided over hundreds of jury trials in circuit court cases, as well as county court cases, civil as well as criminal. I've been your judge for the last 12 years, and with your support, I'm going to be your judge again for 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's thank our candidates. Thank you for coming to ask for our vote. And we will make the next group is going to be Group 10. And while we're waiting, we want to thank, certainly, so that the candidates will know who's in the room. I see Phi Beta Sigma, Mr. Mark Johnson, and his group. I see Delta Sigma Theta. Oh, I see you over there, Attorney McCray. I mentioned Sigmas first. I see Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I see, let's see, I think I saw an Alpha somewhere in here. 1 or 2. Now they tell me if it's 1. I don't know. Gordon, I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. I see the Q's are here. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I see the FAMU Alumni Association that's here as well. Who am I missing? The bright light is in my face. Zeta, Phi Beta, Sorority and Co. Oh, you didn't get to go to Boule? It looks like they're having a lot of fun out there. Okay. All right. Next group, we have Alex Arieza. I always call him Alex. Woody Claremont and Samuel Ford Stark. So we will begin with 1-minute introductions, and we'll start all the way on the end. How about that? Yes, yes, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for hosting us in your beautiful church. My name is Sam Stark. I was born and raised here in Broward County at Joe DiMaggio Hospital in Hollywood. I also graduated from Cardinal Gibbons. I know that doesn't sound good to some of our St. Thomas grads here. I went up to the University of Florida, graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Criminology and a minor in Education. I went to law school at New England Law in Boston, spent 3 too many winters, and came back home to the place I love. I worked at the public defender's office for 3.5 years with Mr. Weeks, who only had to call me into his office once. Since 2017, I've been fortunate enough to work with my father. We do criminal law and family law. And from 2023 to the middle of 2024, I was a traffic magistrate. I'm running for judge because I believe wholeheartedly in civil service and giving back to the place that I love. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stark. Mr. Arieza.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I also want to thank everybody for coming out. Is that better? Okay.
Yes.
I just saw when I was walking up here that I go by Alex. You see, Alejandro Arriaza. I think that one always sends a chill up my spine when I heard my full name. As my grandmother was usually going to whip me, so I was traumatized, and I stopped using that. It's been an interesting time during this particular race, and I grew up in this neighborhood. went to Stranahan High School. I went to Broward Community College, and I went up to FSU and eventually to Nova. Now, the reason that I'm running, I've been doing this now for 30 years. I've known everybody around this environment, and I can tell you, you'll understand that why I'm doing it. It all comes down to due process, and I don't think our communities are getting it. So I believe with my experience, I can help provide that.
Thank you. Mr. Claremont.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Woody Claremont, and I'm running for County Court Judge in Group 10. I've been an attorney for 20 years. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I went to high school on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, to Regis High School. I came to Florida in 1993. Since that time, I went on to obtain quite a number of degrees. In fact, the total degrees I have now at this point are 9 degrees. I have 2 associate's degrees, 3 bachelor's degrees, 3 master's degrees, and 1 law degree, and no student loans. I received my law degree from the University of Miami School of Law, go Canes. And I spent, of my 20 years, 5 years as a prosecutor in Catherine Rundle's office in Miami, prosecuting cases from DUIs up to murders. I spent 11 years in the Miami-Dade court system as a senior law clerk, staff attorney, working in just about every field you can think of: complex business litigation, family, probate, appeals, criminal, civil, the whole 9 yards, even evictions. I spent some time working as a Medicaid hearing officer, presiding over cases. That's my time's up, so.
Thank you.
Woody Claremont, don't forget the name.
All righty. So, what makes you, so you get to finish your thought, what makes you unique for this position? Why should we vote for you? Since you started, let's go ahead.
I think you can vote for me because I have the heart of a judge. During my time working with the court system as a senior law clerk, a lot of times judges came up to me and they said, you know, it's really what you've done in this case. You took this case that had like 8 plaintiffs and 10 defendants, you analyzed it all brilliantly, you looked at this case, say, the class action, you looked at class certification, you looked at all the different elements as to whether or not the class requirement was met. This is really important. I think you have what it takes in you to become a judge. And so each of them one by one would say the same thing. You know, you're holding yourself back. You need to run for judge. And so that's why I became a Medicaid hearing officer, because I wanted to actually feel what it's like to actually do evidentiary hearings. I had witnesses come in, I had different rehab specialists, I had doctors, different experts come and give their opinions, evidentiary hearings. I wrote detailed orders. In fact, you can go on my website to see some of those orders if you go to woodyforjudge.com. Eventually, I also worked for Commissioner Keone McGee as an economic director in District 9 in Miami. And currently, I'm working with the city of Miami Beach as a municipal prosecutor. I've also done a lot of things in the community as well, but I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of time to tell you all about it. But let's just say that I am working on the mental health promotion team with United Way, working with Big Brothers and Big Sisters to work with the foster kids in my little to try to help guide them in the right direction. You know, I've done everything that I can to try to give back because, you know, yes, I've been blessed. God blessed me, but it's not enough for me to have a blessed life. I have to share that blessing with others. I have to care about others. I believe I can do that as judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arias.
What would make me the most qualified? Well, let's go right from the beginning of that particular question. You want to see, what are we applying for? We are applying to be a county court judge in Broward County. While in this particular race, I've learned to like both of these guys. I've known them and I like both of them. But the bottom line is that I'm more experienced. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm going to hit the ground running. There isn't any learning curve with me. I've been involved in numerous issues that dealt with this particular community. I've been right up front with it. I've been fighting for the different groups. I've been a member of the Broward County Hispanic Bar. I've worked with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. I've worked with the Boy Scouts, the Kiwanis, and all the groups, many of the groups that, even groups that went silent to try to advance the particular problems that we've had in this county. And I've been doing that for 30 years. On top of that, I've tried over 100 jury trials. I mean, I'm probably the only candidate, and I'm talking about all the races, that I've practiced in every area of law in the Broward County Courthouse. I've tried and handled cases in every single division, but particularly the criminal and the juvenile division.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Stark?
But before I start, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Judge Mary Rudd Robinson, who was my first judge as a PD and means very much to me. As a public defender, I spent the first year in county court handling everything from traffic criminal offenses to first-degree misdemeanors, had numerous jury trials, a few in front of Judge Robinson, numerous motions to suppress, numerous motions to dismiss. I was then sent to the felony division where I worked for 2.5 years. Again, numerous jury trials, numerous motions to suppress, numerous motions to dismiss. I know very well the criminal realm, law, and procedure. As far as civil, since I've been out of the public defender's office and working with my father, I've learned the ins and outs of civil law, and I'm learning more every day. As a traffic magistrate, it's a quasi-judicial role. I want to stress that it's not judicial, but it's quasi-judicial. If anybody were to get a traffic ticket or a speeding ticket and they wanted to fight it, you would come in front of somebody like me, who questions the police officers, questions the defendants, allows the defendants to cross-examine the police officers, rule on motions and objections. So I have that experience. I've been in front of many, many judges in Broward, West Palm, and Dade. I've seen what works and what doesn't work, and I know what to apply to run an efficient, respectful courtroom. Thank you.
Thank you. The American Bar Association and Florida Supreme Court encourages judges to be active in their communities as long as your activities don't violate the canons. What activities are you currently engaged in? Mr. Stark.
From 2023 to from 2022 to 2023, I had to take a break because it's a one-year contract. I was a volunteer at Holy Cross Hospital in the post-operative center, helping doctors and nurses with patients who had outpatient surgery. My Thursdays were open at that time, and I didn't feel like sitting at home and doing nothing. I wanted to help people. Since 2020, I've been working with Habitat for Humanity, an organization that's very near and dear to my heart. I hope to be on the board of directors one day. We actually just moved a family of 5 who's living in a 2-bedroom apartment with their parents into their first house. I participate in Sister Robin's Street Market. My church, First Church, partners with farms in West Palm Beach every other Saturday of the year except for the summer to bring food to pass out to less fortunate people on the streets. I volunteer with the Music Link Foundation. I play guitar, and we provide free lessons to children from families who can't afford formal music lessons. I'm a member at First Presbyterian Church. I've been there for 23 years. I'm an elder. I'm the chair of the missions team, a member of the adult ministry team, and that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Arias.
I've always done my pro bono work, which has been a subject of a lot of fights in my office because my wife thinks that she accuses me of being the public defender's office, not Gordon. And it would be funny if you were running a private practice. That's what my wife says, that I'm a public defender. But a lot of the work that I do is I'm connected to 5 churches, and I handle pro bono work through them. We choose the individuals that can't afford the work, they can't afford the attorney. And the reason that I do that is really one of the reasons why I'm running is, for me, it all comes down to being able to get due process. And most of the time, it becomes a socioeconomic that poor people that can't afford it. And you see the people that don't get the due process are usually people that don't have the money to hire an attorneys, and that's really wrong. You have a lot of great judges that try to make room for it and adjust to it. I also have done work with the Kiwanis. I've done work with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, the Boy Scouts, and a lot of other groups. But mostly what I do is do the pro bono work with these particular churches. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Claremont.
Yes.
Hold it until it turns to me.
Hello? Okay, this will work. So from a very young age, I've been involved in service in the community. When I was in high school, I used to volunteer at the local hospitals, many nursing floors. Additionally, when I was in college, I pledged the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, to which I served at different points as a bossless and a KRS. I'm an International Life member. I'm a 2nd District Life member. I'm a 7th District Life member. I'm also a Florida statewide organization member. And I did a lot of work in the community, particularly with street cleanups, also with additionally helping elementary school students. Sometimes we had programs for them and contests to kind of encourage them to dream big and express their thoughts in the forms of poems or video blogs or different essays. Additionally, I also am serving as in the prison ministry at my church at Newmont Olive Baptist Church. I have also done some volunteer work with the Broward State Attorney's Office, volunteering in their conviction review unit, because it's very important in a lot of cases that you know that these convictions were obtained fairly, that there wasn't evidence that was withheld, or potential Brady material, such that you know with good conscience that you haven't sent someone away for something that you didn't do. In addition to that, also, I am working with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, working with a foster kid, and basically have done a lot of things in my life to try to give back to others around me because it's important. I haven't done as much pro bono, unfortunately, because most of my service has been as a government attorney, and as a government attorney, we're actually strictly prohibited from doing pro bono. Thank you.
Thank you. The chief judge makes division assignments, but if you could choose your dream division assignment, what division would that be and why? Mr. Claremont.
I would have no preference at all, actually, because as I indicated before, I have worked in different aspects of the system. Like, for example, when I worked at the state attorney's office, I was promoted to a leadership position 3 times. I was an assistant chief in county court. I was also a county training attorney, supervising 50 attorneys. And I also worked in the juvenile division, handling very sensitive sexual assault cases, as well as supervising attorneys at that point as well. So I got to know criminal and juvenile in that way. And I told you this before, when I was working with the court system as a senior law clerk and staff attorney, the first thing that they did right off the bat was say, oh, you did criminal before? We're not putting you in criminal. You need to learn all the aspects of the system. We rotate people around here. So they eventually rotated me into appeals. They then rotated me into civil. They then rotated me into complex business litigation. They then rotated me into family and probate as well. And then also into ethics and special projects. I mean, in family and probate, I learned some of the most amazing things that I could do because I handled different cases with sensitive issues, like, whether or not the courts can step into tribal matters, because sometimes the jurisdiction may cross over and the tribes have to be respected. But sometimes if children are at risk and there's a certain level of harm that violates the compact, then the courts might have to step in as well. So that's why for me, since I've worked in so many different aspects of the system, I've worked in evictions, I've worked in just about everything you think of, I really don't have a preference. Whatever, division they put me in, I will do well, I will excel, and I will make my community proud. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arieza.
By far, in 30 years, my favorite area of law that I practiced was juvenile. I really felt that I could help change lives in juvenile. But what's kind of interesting with judges, and I give you a different point of view, because what's really dangerous with judges is you don't want them to get complacent. And what I would want is to be able to rotate like judges are doing. The judges do that in Broward County. They don't really stay. There's very few judges that spend their whole career in one particular place. You can count them on your hand and have fingers left over at the Broward County Courthouse. Because doing that is dangerous. You want the judges to be able to know different things. And again, due process is applied in every area of law, whether it's civil, whether it's criminal, juvenile, and that's really why I'm running, because in all those areas, you see people that because they can't afford counsel, because the way the courts treat them, they're not getting due process. So all I would really want is the same rotation that the judges apply now.
Thank you. Mr. Stark.
Thank you. I'm going to say criminal, and this is the reason why. Last week, I had the opportunity to attend a community court. And for those of you who don't know what that is, people are on the streets that are suffering from homelessness and substance abuse issues and mental health issues, and they commit municipal ordinance violations. Community court is a program that's hosted in numerous areas throughout the county. And the program is set up so that when these individuals come into the community center, they're given shown the resources to help them tackle their individual issues. And I had the pleasure of seeing that for the first time last week, and it really struck a chord with me. I believe we were placed on this planet to live in community and unity. And so I want to do what I can to help my fellow man and woman. Thank you.
Thank you. The Florida bar requires attorneys to provide 30 hours of pro bono, free to the poor, representation annually. What have you done in the last year to fulfill this requirement in the last year? Mr. Stark.
Right now, I'm representing a woman who I've represented numerous times over the past few years. She has severe substance abuse issues, is currently pregnant, and is the result of inexplainable and unfathomable trauma. And I'm doing everything I can to help her conquer those issues that she's dealing with and help her turn her life around. I've also done a name change petition for an individual who is having issues with his license, wasn't able to drive around, so I helped out in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arias.
I think you said the requirement was 30, right? I think every year I've been practicing 30 years, it's probably for the last 20, I probably do about 260 hours of pro bono work. And you see, most of my work is in trial work. I'm in court every day, and I do a lot of trials. And during that time period, you see a lot of people that you're going to have to help out, or it's going to be a tragedy. I joke with people sometimes when we talk about why we do the pro bono work, and I tell them we don't make pizzas. We mess up. People get hurt. People get up there and represent themselves because they don't have any money. They get hurt. It sends their families in a spin. It just affects all of them. So I always encourage the other younger lawyers and tell them, if you could spend a few hours, it's not gonna hurt you. Just spend a few hours helping out somebody that needs the help if they're in court, answering their questions. And I can tell you that people make a bigger deal out of it than it is, but I do about 260 hours, and it really doesn't hurt my practice. It doesn't do anything, because I believe that we're blessed, and because we get to practice law, and with that blessing comes responsibility. So
Thank you.
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. Mr. Claremont.
Thank you. As I indicated before, because I spent most of my career as a government attorney, the rules actually don't allow for us to do the pro bono. In other words, we get an exemption yearly for the pro bono requirement. But in a way, I will say this. I have a lot of friends who are criminal defense attorneys. And a lot of times, we go and we're hanging out, we're at the cookouts, we're at the beach, wherever. And they're hitting me up about cases because they're like, Woody, I just don't know what to do with this particular case. And so I've never turned them away from that. I didn't say, well, I can't talk about it, I can't whatever. To the extent that I'm not involved with any of that, I say, look, tell me about the case, what's going on. And they'll tell me. And I sometimes give them solutions that pretty much break the case wide open. In one particular case, it was a situation where an individual was stopped after making a turn without signaling. And and that would have had consequences for them because they would have been somehow been implicated for a stolen car. And I told them, I said, well, did you read the statute carefully? Did you know in the case that if you're making that right turn and no other traffic is affected, that there's no basis for that stop, right? That there's no probable cause in that particular instance. And there's case law on that. And I provided them with the case law. And he was like, I never knew this. And they even went to others and asked them. And they said, I didn't know this either. And I said, well, you're welcome. And I knew then that he was able to go forward with the case. He was able to get the judge to see based on the testimony and based on the rule that this person, their evidence was going to be suppressed. And because the evidence was suppressed, the case got thrown out. And these are the kinds of things I do day in and day out because I'm always willing to share with others. As I said, God has blessed me with many things. I spread the joy, spread the wealth to everyone. Thank you.
Mental health has become an issue in every profession. What do you do to balance your work and your life? Okay. Mr. Claremont.
Well, first off, I have to get in the zone because what I'm going to do normally is I'm going to go into my little area, I have a little altar, and right there I have a brazier, and I start to load it with incense. Whatever kind of incense I might have at the time. I have frankincense, maybe I might have some Palo Santo, whatever the case may be, and I want to get the air real clear as these scents are walking through and clearing the energy. And I'm going to ring the little bell as well, because, sometimes that also helps clear the energy as well. And I'm going to sometimes repeat, like a om, because again, you're trying to get into a certain frame of mind, to a thought process. And so with that, I also say my prayers. I might read a few verses from the Bible. And then I will say, okay, the body is also a temple as well. So I'll probably go down to Planet Fitness and put in my 45 minutes as well. Because at the end of the day, we have to remember we're human beings. And so we're going to do human being things to get away from the stresses, to get away from the work. Even if that means calling my son or daughter on the phone, even if that means hanging out with friends, or even if that means just taking quiet time to myself to clear my mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arieza.
I always considered myself very blessed because I see this problem in the profession and other lawyers where they struggle with other substance, and I love what I do. That's all I've ever wanted to be. So what do I do to I don't know, my wife says I'm a workaholic. She's my balance, and my son, they try to make sure that I do not work on Sunday at least. And I spend as much time with them on the weekends and trying to relax. But I probably put 70, 80 hours a week in my office. So it's probably not it's probably not good if you're worried about your mental health.
Thank you. Mrs. Stark.
First and foremost, every Friday we have a family dinner, which means a lot to me. It's a great end of the week, and there's nothing more important on this earth than your family and spending time with them and making memories. I'm a gym rat. I work out in the morning and I work out in the afternoon, as Mr. Claremont. I firmly believe the body is a temple. I taught myself guitar, piano, bass, and I'm trying to teach myself drums. So I play instruments to work out the stress. Although the songs that I teach myself are from the 50s and 60s, I can't seem to move past the 50s and 60s. And I think the last thing that I do is I golf. And for some of you who play, you know that sometimes that's not necessarily the most relaxing thing, but for me it can be cathartic, and I hope one day to shoot for 100. Thank you.
Okay, in 90 seconds, tell us why we should vote for you. We'll start with you, Mr. Stark.
So I believe there are four components to being a good judge. First and foremost, it's about applying the law to the case. Secondly, it's about being transparent. It's about being fair. It's about being impartial. And it's about being transparency, fairness, impartiality, and making sure all parties are given a voice. It's also a requirement to be respectful. The judge should not be the focal point of the courtroom. Now, we have a very important job in what we do, but it should never be about us. We're there to call balls and strikes. We should also respect and dignity When people walk into the courtroom and they see somebody in a black robe sitting up in a pedestal, they think that they may have this air of superiority about them, and that's not the case at all. And lastly, and I think most importantly, is the judge should have community involvement. For lawyers and judges, the world is bigger than the courthouse. Okay, so it's about being involved in getting to know the people of this county. And I think if you talk to people, you'll see that I fit all four of those categories. I love Broward County, was born and raised here. I want to serve you people and give all that I have to do the best job that I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arias.
For over 30 years, I've been on the front line at the courthouse. I've experienced every single type of judge, whether they were tough, whether they were soft, whether they were this, they were that, and I saw the way and the different styles. But what really hit me was how people were not really getting their day in court. And I saw that, I heard this expression a couple of times where, you know, judges that were running before, they would say, I just call them balls and strikes. And, you know, I think it hit me hard where I decided to run, because that courthouse is in a game. And I know that particular person that said that didn't mean to say that, but unfortunately, sometimes the judges treat it like that. Balls and strikes. It's a game. Let's move on. Let's just move. But the problem is every one of those people, when we're sitting as lawyers, we're sitting around on the bench and we're seeing some people get justice, some people don't. Some people get due process, some people don't. And anybody tells you that everybody gets due process in that courthouse is lying to you. What you get with me is you get 30 years of experience. I've tried over 100 trials. I've practiced every area. And where you get with me is you don't get a learning curve. I hit the ground running. Thank you. Thanks for having us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Claremont.
Thank you. And I would say my four things would be wisdom, empathy, leadership, and due process. Wisdom, because of the fact that sometimes when you think about certain cases, there are rules, and the rules have to be followed. But you also have to think about the fact that everyone that comes before you is a life. They're not a number. They're not a case file to be pushed along. Every person from all walks of life has a story. And unfortunately, because of the budgeting of the court system, because of the overloading of cases, we may not have a lot of time to deal with a lot of people. But you have to understand, you have to be willing to listen to them. Sometimes people just need people to listen to them, to understand where they're coming from. And so that's where you see the wisdom and the empathy come in. But you also have to be a leader as well. And as I've told you before, I've done a lot of things. I've been in leadership positions in different offices I've been at. I've also been a teacher as well. I've taught legal studies, criminal justice at different colleges, Key College, Southern New Hampshire University, where I basically showed students and shared knowledge with them, which is very important, but due process is still the most important of all, because everyone comes to court, and no matter what their skin color might be, no matter what their ethnicity might be, no matter what their gender might be, whatever thing that makes them different, they all are entitled to the equal same level of respect and due process. And I don't let anyone leave that courtroom feeling that they haven't had their day in court, that they weren't allowed to present their case, because that's the most important thing. People will not lose faith in the system if judges are here to have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for having us.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are your candidates for County Court Group 10. Thank you all. Group 16. And while we're getting set, there is an issue with construction and access to the water has been shut off because of the issue with construction, but the restrooms are available at the Life Center just across the street there. So feel free. Okay. Group 16, 1 minute introduction. We'll start, ladies first.
So, hello everyone, good evening. My name is Kathleen Angioni. You likely have my card in your hand. I grew up in Pompano Beach. I've lived here over 50 years. I grew up in Pompano. I went to Pompano Elementary. I went to Pompano Middle School, Pompano High School, and then finished my last year when Pompano closed over at Northeast High School. I then, when everybody else went to their fancy colleges, I went on to FAU because I'm just a local girl and I like to stay close to home. I then went over and got my degree for law school at NSU, where I actually started 6 months pregnant because I can do everything, just ask me. And I ended up having my baby over the break, and by January I was back at it. I ended up graduating magna cum laude. My husband and I have it. Frank's in the audience over there if you've had a chance to meet him. We've been married 31 years and we've raised our children in the community as well. Oh, and God bless you.
Thank you. Okay, so. Press, yes, okay.
Hi, my name is Joseph Zager. Thank you very much for having us tonight. A little bit about myself. I'm originally from New York. I've been down here 37 years, living in Broward County now for about 35. Went to college down here. It was too cold in New York. I went to law school at Nova, and when I graduated from Nova Law School, I got my first job as an assistant state attorney here in Broward County. I'm a former prosecutor. I worked there about 13 years as a prosecutor. Back in 2008, I helped create and start the unit that prosecutes against child pornography, computer child exploitation, as well as handling all misdemeanor cases assigned to the sexual battery unit, failing to register as a sex offender, and running a division where children were abused. Since that time, I've started my own practice. I do a lot of family law now. I do some other work as well, defamation, landlord tenant. And I have over 85 jury trials, and I practice a lot in both the civil and criminal courts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. The chief judge makes division assignments, but if you could choose your dream division assignment, what division would that be and why? Give us 1 minute on the clock. We'll start with you, Mr. Yeager.
Okay. Yeah.
1 minute. Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. Probably if I had the choice, I would prefer to go to criminal court just because, as I said, part of my experience and having conducted over 85 jury trials, 2 verdicts, I think it's a little bit more interesting because then you also get to provide, it's not just a matter of protecting a defendant's rights, but you have victim's rights, you have witness rights, you have jurors' rights. I mean, you're there to really help everybody. Doesn't mean though that I wouldn't mind, as somebody else had said, being transferred to other divisions throughout my time if I'm fortunate enough to be elected. But ultimately, I think overall, if I could choose, that's where I want to be. But based on my experience, I feel very confident that no matter where the chief judge decides to put me, I'll do a good job. At least that's my goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Angioni.
Hi, so I'm very much the team player. I was a managing attorney of a law firm for over 15 years, and I have my own practice. So certainly I know how to lead. But I think what's also critical is that we also know how to be teammates when the need arises, and that's what I want to do. So I currently attend court every day. I do motion practice usually during the week, and then on Fridays I do a lot of my trial work. I will go where I'm needed to be, but in those 5 years that I've been doing county court, I wanted to make sure that I knew how to practice in county court. I wanted to do my homework. I wanted to make sure I was going to be good at it. I currently assist in one of the divisions that is the biggest division, as you can imagine, with the economic times being what they are. Small claims is a huge division. So I'm there every day. And so given the opportunity, that's where I'd like to be, I think, because I think I can have the biggest impact there.
Thank you. The American Bar Association and the Florida Supreme Court encourages judges to be active in their communities as long as your activities don't violate the canons. What community activities are you currently engaged in? 1 minute.
Is that for me?
You'll start, yes.
Oh, okay. Again, if everybody that knows me, I will help anybody do anything. So I have done things from doing dives to clean up the reefs off of Pompano Beach, to cleaning up litter in our community, to pulling weeds that are strangling out our indigenous plants. I go to the local schools and I read to some of the youngsters. I was just recently over at Stephen Foster, and explaining our judicial system and teaching them how to read. I go over to Nova Southeastern and I judge moot court competitions. I go to the courthouse and do that as well. I've worked in soup kitchens to help feed the homeless. We have a couple people in our community that I've kind of adopted. We call one of them Sally. And whenever we see Sally, we just kind of check in on her and make sure she's okay. Sometimes she just needs a meal. Sometimes she just needs a blanket or a change of clothes or something. And we just really believe in taking care of our community.
Thank you. Mr. Yeager?
Thank you. I've never formally joined any community service group. Over the years, I've done what I can depending on what's happening from Habitat for Humanity. I've done work with the Lions. I've coached kids soccer. I've taught. I even taught when I was an assistant state attorney. I've also judged court competitions. I've done whatever comes up that is necessary without joining one formal group and being a member. I felt that was the best way for me to give back when something arises, even if it's helping a friend out. I've fostered pets in the past. In fact, my son wants to foster a cat, which might kill me because I'm allergic, but we do what we can for the kids. I also donate blood every 2 months, and whatever I can do to help out without formally joining a particular club, because I think there's too many to help out with, so I do what I can everywhere.
Thank you. Have you been disciplined by the Supreme Court as an attorney? Mr. Yeager?
No.
Ms. Angela?
No, absolutely not.
Thank you. Okay. So, mental health has become an important issue in every profession. What do you do to balance your work and your everyday life?
You first?
You first, Ms. Angela.
Okay, so I strongly believe that you start your day praying, and so that's what I do. And I'm not saying that because we're in a church, it's because I have a very relationship with the Lord, and I pray that the Lord a long, healthy, happy life together, and that we support each other because we all have to come together, and that's the end goal. I also listen to Headspace, and I really believe in encouraging people to do that. I think you need to take the time in a very busy society to center yourself. So I don't know if you have the app. I know some folks said they put their phone down. I pick mine up. There's a fellow, Andy, for those of you who want to try it out, and he just puts you in a very zen frame of mind. It helps you center yourself, and it helps you be effective in what you're doing. I also talk to my kids every day. I have a 22-year-old and a 27-year-old, and I touch base with them, and I make sure that they're on track. They know they're valued and they're loved in the world. I go for long walks with my husband to do our check-in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Yeager.
Thank you. I would say particularly when work gets too much, the best way to help my mental health is spend time with my family. I've got 2 children. My daughter's 18. My son will be 15 the day of the election. And so I try and decompress with them, whether it's having dinner, going to the beach, going to a movie. That's the best way I find to relax, spending time with them. And I would say that for anybody who has children, especially when they become teenagers, when they start looking at mental health, I then go back to work to get a break from them. So it's a nice little balance that I have back and forth, that they help me take a break from work, and then I go back to work to help take care of them and make sure that I do what I need to do for my clients and the people that I help on a daily basis. Thank you.
In 1 minute, tell us why we should vote for you. Mr. Yeager. Okay.
1 minute?
1 minute, yes, sir.
I'll go fast. Like I said at the beginning, I don't know if I said the exact number, but I've been practicing for 25 years. I've been in a courtroom for 25 years. I started right away doing jury trials. My first trial was a bench trial. I had over 85 jury trials. I've done criminal trials, and I've done civil trials. I've done criminal and civil, but I've done county as well as circuit. And why is that important? Because I've been fortunate enough to appear in front of pretty much every single judge in Broward County. And I've had the benefit of practicing in almost every different type of law. From, like I said, criminal trials, I've done family law trials, I've done lieutenant, defamation, I've had credit card cases, and after 25 years of doing criminal and civil, because we don't know where the chief judge is going to put us, I feel very confident that with all of my years of experience and training, that I'll be suited wherever I'm put. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Angione.
Thank you. So, like Mr. Zager, I too have been practicing for 25 years. I have been a statewide a practitioner, so I've appeared in Broward County, but I've also appeared in most of the 67 counties in Florida. I have always done a heavy trial practice, so I've done hundreds and hundreds. I've lost count of the number of trials that I've done. I also act as a hearing officer for the St. Petersburg Housing Authority. That is a quasi-judicial position where I actually preside over cases where people that are in need of the housing vouchers and assistance, they come forward and sometimes they violated the terms of those programs. So I sit and take evidence, I take testimony of the witnesses, and then I evaluate the case to see whether or not the terms of the program have been violated. Then I make the decision whether or not that person keeps their voucher or not. The most important thing about that is a lot of people need those vouchers. I'm also appointed as a guardian ad litem across the state by different judges to protect people that can't protect themselves.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your candidates for County Court Judge seat 16. Group 25. Group 25, you're on deck. Ready with the timer? Thank you. We will start with 1 minute introduction. Ladies first. Ms. Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening. My name is Tamar Hamilton, and I'm your candidate for Broward County Court Judge in Group 25. I have the experience. I am an attorney. I have been practicing law. I'm a legal educator, so I teach the law. So the legal experience is not the concern here. What is important for the people to know, we have a position in the Broward County Court, which is known as our People's Court. This is where the majority of residents in Broward County are likely to go if there's a legal that needs to be addressed. And so it is important that we vote for the candidate who has been living, working, and serving the residents of Broward County, both legally and through community engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Friedman. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for having us here tonight. My name is Corey Friedman. I'm running for County Court Judge, Group 25. For the past 13 years, I've been a trial lawyer. I've been helping people just like you in the community every day and protecting people just like you in the community every day. I've tried cases all over the state of Florida, wrongful death, product liability, medical malpractice cases. I grew up here in Broward County, in Plantation, went to Mirror Lake Elementary School, Plantation Middle School, went to high school in Fort Lauderdale, graduated Nova Southeastern University with honors for my law degree. Went to Barry University for undergrad, pre-law. Folks, I love this community. I want to serve the community. I have 2 little girls, a 9-month-old and a 2.5-year-old. Everything that I do for those 2 young girls. This is my way to give to the community, and it is my way to show leadership and stewardship to those 2 young girls. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you been disciplined by the Supreme Court as an attorney? Mr. Friedman first.
No, never.
No, I have not.
Thank you. All right, let's go to your dream division. We know the Chief Judge picks, but if you had the option to choose, what would be your dream division to work in? We'll start with you first.
My dream division will be the division, it's a civil division. I've been a civil practice attorney protecting property rights. I do believe this is a big dream. We call it the American dream. Dealing with contract laws, real property would be a division that I would like to go in. And also with landlord-tenant matters, these are areas that I have seen very sensitive towards, and I'm very knowledgeable in these areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Friedman, 1 minute.
Thank you. County civil would be my preference. It is predominantly where I've practiced, where I've tried all my cases. Certainly in order to be a judge, you have to understand the rules of evidence. You have to understand how trials work. That's what I've done for the past 13 years, and that's what I'll continue to do.
Thank you. The American Bar Association and the Florida Supreme Court encourages judges to be active in their communities as long as your activities don't violate the canons. What community activities are you currently engaged in? We will start. Do we start with you? We'll start with Mr. Friedman.
I am a member of the Broward County Bar, Broward County Trial Lawyers Association, the Florida Justice Association, the American Association for Justice. Also, I was a curator circle member at the NSU Art Museum. I'm also a board member at Temple Bet Yam, where my 2 young girls go to school, and I am also a co-treasurer of the PTO at their day school. In addition to that, I participate in Adopt a Road. My firm does. So every quarter we go out to a road that we've adopted and we pick up trash off the highway. And that's what we do. We try to make the community a cleaner place.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton.
Residents of Broward County, there's a lot of community initiative, and it's easy for us to be part of many boards. We can sign up and be members, but being active in the community currently is what's important. There's a lot of move for literacy, and I've made sure that I am part of that literacy program, starting with the younger ones. This is the next generation. So I'm participating throughout the cities in Broward County. There's a lot of literacy program. I'm there. You can see it on my social media, teaching the children, encouraging the parent. I'm also involved with Kiwanis. That's a huge community. They look for a lot of our holidays and initiatives where we can go to the parks and families, meet the people in the community, doing grocery giveaways. These are some of the wonderful things that I've been a part of. Other than education, I've been partnered with the bar associations. One thing I really like, I'm seeing, thank you, I'll respect the time.
Thank you. Florida Bar requires attorneys to provide 30 hours of pro bono, free to the poor representation annually. Tell us within the last year, what have you done to fulfill this requirement? I think we started with, Mr. Friedman.
Want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just before I decided to run for judge in Broward County, I finished up a case that I had been working on for 2.5 years. And an older gentleman and his wife got into a car accident near the Keys. One of his arms was severed, and there wasn't enough insurance coverage. Nobody wanted to represent them because there was no money in it. I took the case. It took me 2.5 years to get it resolved. I did. I took no fee on that case, but I worked on that case for the past 2.5 years just before filing to become your next county court judge.
Ms. Hamilton.
My current pro bono, I find myself, there are a lot of concerns within our community of home ownership, especially in the senior communities. They've been experiencing a lot of fraud, and there are some issues with insurance and just going through foreclosures. What I've done, I've opened my office to free consultation because people are just making mistakes because they don't know. So I've offered my service to ensure that I provide the consultation, the instructions and information that the residents need to resolve their issues, and also connect them with the legal sources and resources that are available in our community. Also, I've drafted wills, powers of attorneys, so family members can assist their seniors in some of these matters on a pro bono basis. Thank you.
Thank you. And in 1 minute, tell us, why should we vote for you? Ms. Hamilton?
Thank you. If you look around this room, you will see what Broward County looks like. It's a very diverse community. I have had the wonderful and the unique opportunity of working with families in this diverse from all over the Florida, families outside of Florida. As a real estate attorney, as a probate estate attorney, I have seen and understand the issues and the concerns and the importance of protecting our rights and protecting our families' rights to what we have worked so hard for. This is the unique position that has prepared me to be a fair judge, always finding fair and equitable solutions without jeopardizing our legal process. This is the type of judge we need in Broward County. I am Tamar Hamilton, and I'm asking for your vote so I can continue to make a difference in Broward County. Thank you.
Mr. Friedman.
There's no good way to say this, but I can pretty much guarantee that nobody in this room is going to hire a foot doctor to give somebody open heart surgery. Ms. Hamilton and I are both lawyers. We both went to law school. We're both trained in the law. But the type of law that we practice is very different. Our experience is very different. I'm in the courtroom every week. I'm taking depositions. I am doing contested hearings. I'm trying cases. The Sun Sentinel interviewed both Ms. Hamilton and myself, and ultimately they endorsed me. During that interview process, they asked Ms. Hamilton, how many times have you tried a case before a jury? Her answer was 0. Look, folks, the next person you elect to be a judge should be somebody who has had history and experience in the courtroom, who understands the rules of evidence, and that person's me. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are our candidates for Group 25. Let's thank them. Group 32. Group 32. We are going to begin with a 1 minute self-introduction. Ladies first, 1 minute.
Okay, hello everybody.
Hello.
My name is Lord Pepper. I am running for County Court Judge, group number 32. As I've said, this whole campaign process, well, first of all, thank you for waiting for group 32. Usually we talk to an empty room around this time. So faith first, then family. I am married to Travis Pepper. We have a 1-year-old son at home named Jet, and we are expecting number 2 in November. So I am very grateful that our election is in August. I graduated, I'm a South Florida girl, born and raised. Graduated in West Palm Beach, and then went to Boston University, where I got my master's in criminology. I then went to Nova Law School at night. I worked during the day in order to pay for that law school, interning with the Broward County Juvenile Felony Division.
Thank you.
The end.
Thank you. Mr. Benitez.
Good evening. My name is Emilio Emi Benitez. I'm a 40-year resident of Broward County. I grew up in Alapata, then Little Havana down in Miami. I went to law school at Tulane University, New Orleans, and then went to law school at the University of Florida. I started my career in Miami as a legal services attorney, then came here and was a public defender for 5 years. Started my own practice, and then did what was the calling of my heart. I went into child welfare, and I was one of the founders of the largest child welfare agency in the state of Florida, ChildNet, and was dealing with the problems of foster care for the last 15, 16 years. I continue doing that today and making sure that the children of Broward are protected.
Thank you. Next question. Have you been disciplined by the Supreme Court as an attorney?
I have not.
No.
Always a good answer.
I beat the timer on that one.
That's amazing. For lawyers, you all know. Okay, your dream division. We know the chief judge makes the division assignments, but if you could choose your dream division, what would it be and why? We will start with Mr. Benitez.
So, as one of the candidates said, it's really a team effort. So I will serve wherever the chief judge wants me to serve. But if I had my choice, it would be in landlord-tenant. Although I have experience in all divisions, from administrative all the way to appellate, and doing years of criminal work, I find that being in the landlord-tenant division is how I can impact the lives of people the most, especially, as I've mentioned before, the lives of children. Many times I saw children coming into ChildNet removed from their parents, not because of abuse or abandonment, but because they lived in a car. That is despicable. That is shameful. And that's where I think I could make the most impact in this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pfeiffer.
Yes. Probably a little bit of a different answer. I really enjoy small claims court. I find where there's less lawyering and more peopling. I have quite a bit more fun doing my job. Small claims tends to be where normal people come in with their normal problems and they just want to talk about them. And I think small claims court is remarkably productive in that it typically mandates mediation. There's more resources to the folks that are in there, to interpreters and things of that nature. And I, as you can see, can be very professional, but I can also be, I think, very disarming and comforting. And small claims court kind of gives me that opportunity to speak with people and make them feel a little more at ease.
Thank you. American Bar Association's Florida Supreme Court encourages judges to be active in their communities as long as your activities don't violate the canons. What community activities are you currently engaged in? Ms. Pfeiffer.
Well, started my community activities in high school, but currently I serve on the board of directors of this country's largest and oldest child welfare agency, the Child Welfare League of America. I also have served as board member of Legal Aid here in Broward, Coast to Coast Legal Services with the Honorable Mary Robinson. We served together at the Southeast Hospice Care. And as a judge, I would continue participating in community efforts and community service, because I think that is what keeps you connected with the people that you're serving. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Pfeiffer.
Thank you. Well, anybody who Googles my name will immediately find a bunch of animal work. In 2017, I started a rescue that has grown to be the second largest rescue partner for Broward County Animal Care and Control. And that rescue, since starting in 2017, has grown additional divisions, including a division we call Popo to Go, which helps transport high-risk animals out of the overcrowded shelter into other areas. However, I've stayed very active with my alma mater, Nova Southeastern University. I do moot court competitions. I did very well on the bar exam, so I do a lot of bar coaching, or we used to. And then I go and I speak often to the students there, particularly for the SALDF, Student Animal Legal Defense Fund. That is probably one of my favorites because we get to go to the Humane Society. Additionally, recently, my husband and I became very active in flight.
Thank you. And while you're up, what makes you the better choice?
The better choice, well, I've been very lucky. I started in high volume litigation. I had some criminal work, as I was saying earlier. I interned in juvenile felony under Gordon Weeks before he was the public defender. I've done so in that case, both civil and criminal. I've done family and probate, and I say those specifically because those areas have their own sort of rules of law. I've been able to have both bench and jury trial experience. I've been able to do both federal and appellate cases. So I've just been very lucky in that way to be well-rounded in the law.
Thank you, Mr. Menendez.
As another candidate mentioned, you don't go to a foot doctor for a heart surgery. I've been in this community practicing law for 40 years. I've served this community in many, many capacities for 40 years. In this zip code, I served as CEO of ChildNet and noticed that 66% of the children in foster care were African American. 50% of those came from this zip code. I'm a problem solver, so I got together with Jermaine Smith-Ball, Urban League, and created a program with a community-based connection also in this zip code to address that issue. And in 1 year, we reduced removals from this zip code by 20% in 1 year. Thank you.
And while you're up, 1 minute closing.
So I'll continue. That made a huge impact. So at the time, BSO was doing the child protection investigations. That created an immediate conflict. No one wants police coming into their house to investigate the removal of their child. Community-based connection served as the liaison between the family and BSO to achieve a common sense consensus as to whether removal was necessary. That's what I will bring to the bench. We have in October upcoming a huge problem with homelessness. The Supreme Court of the United States and the Florida legislature found it fit to give communities the authority to criminalize homelessness. I want to be in the landlord-tenant/property division because I think I am best suited to address that issue. Thank you.
Thank you. 1 minute closing. Anything you want to share?
Oh, okay, sorry about that, everybody. As I was saying before, well, you know what, actually, I will say more information can be found about me at alexlordpepper.com. I do want your vote, and I am asking for your vote, either vote by mail or in person on August 20th. But I want to take the rest of this time to bring your attention to something that's important to me. I've been endorsed by several organizations, but one of them is the Police Benevolent Association, and they are trying to bring attention to one of our lost community members. He was a sheriff's deputy who passed on July 4th. His last name is Zaharovsky. If you email me or reach out to me, I will give you some more details on that, but they are trying to pay for those funeral expenses. So as a member of the community, I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention.
Thank you. Let's thank our candidates from Group 32. Group 1. Group 1 is up. If they're not here, put their name up. Let them look at the empty chair.
She's never been here.
I understand. All right. Self-introductions. All candidates were invited. I even made follow-up phone calls if I had not heard from the individuals. So they had an opportunity to come, to share, and to ask our community for a vote. We'll work with the candidate that bothered to come and ask us for our vote. Madam, 1 minute opening, please.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. My name is Carol Lisa Phillips. I am one of your circuit court judges here in Broward County. I thank you all for being here. I know I'm one of the last ones to speak. I thank you for staying here. I have been on the bench for over 20 years. I have served in multiple divisions. I have served in the domestic violence division, where life and death decisions are made each and every day. I have also been in the family division, where people may be going through times of their lives, going through divorces and other issues. I served in the general civil litigation division, and I currently serve in the complex litigation division, presiding over long jury trials and non-jury trials. I'm also an administrative judge of the circuit civil divisions. And I've been married for 31 years. I have a family. We've raised our daughter here, and I've lived in Broward County my entire life.
While you're up.
Yes. Oh, I might as well not sit down.
Please make it. Let us know what I know that you are a judge now, but tell us your dream division.
Your
dream division.
I will serve wherever I am needed. I love the division that I'm currently in. I love the general circuit civil division that I was in before that. And I love serving as the administrative judge of the circuit civil divisions. I really enjoy my job. I love my job.
Thank you. Have you been disciplined by the Supreme Court as an attorney or as a judge?
No, I have not. And I was an attorney for 14 years in private practice before becoming a judge, and I've never been disciplined.
Thank you. Your 30 hours that's required by the Florida Bar. In the last year, what have you done to fulfill the requirements?
All right, well, as a judge, we are not allowed to do the pro bono work. We're not allowed to represent individuals because we're on the bench. However, I do work within the community. We have as some of the other candidates have talked about this evening, we bring in middle school students, high school students, college students, as well as law school students, and have mock trials. We also go out into the community and go to elementary schools and to middle schools and to high schools. And so I really try to give back in that way, because I think it's very important, as you've heard from a lot of the folks here tonight, that it's important to reach out to those children, because the children are our future.
Judge, as we look at this empty chair, tell us what makes you the best choice.
First of all, respect. I have respect for each and every one of you, and that's why I am here this evening. I have attended a lot of these forums. My opponent who lives in Orlando, I don't know if she's ever stepped foot in the county of Broward. I have lived here my whole life. I've worked here, I've worked at a ton of different jobs. The athlete's foot in the Broward Mall, going back to hanging drywall with my dad in construction when I was 12 and 13 years old. I went to Castleville Elementary School, I went to Lauderdale Elementary School, I went to Lauderdale Elementary School, and graduated from Boyd Anderson High School, go Cobras. I went to Broward College on a tennis scholarship, I attended the University of Florida, and I went to law school at Nova Southeastern. And I love this community. I love being a judge. I'm honored to be a judge, and I hope you will allow me to continue to be a judge. Thank you.
1 minute closing, as you
All
said.
right. 1 minute closing. Again, I'm going to waste your time. Thank you all. If you want to find out anything more about me, my website is judgephillips2024.com. My name is Hermon Phillips. I am one of your circuit court judges. I have respect for each and every one of you, and I give due process and due care for people in front of me. I read my case, I go through the pleadings, I read the research, and I do the best I can each and every day, and I treat each and every person that comes before me with dignity and respect. And I'm honored to be in this position, and please keep me as your judge. Carol Phillips. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And finally, Group 38. So Weeks, I didn't get your RSVP, that's why you don't have a sign. All right, we will do it 1 minute opening. Ladies first.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I am Stephanie Camille Moon. I'm currently serving as your circuit court judge in Group 38. I've been a judge for 5.5 years. I decided to run for judge in 2018 to take the seat that was held by Judge Lona Holmes for a number of years prior to that. And quite frankly, taking that torch has been one of the joys of serving you as a circuit court judge. I sit in unified family court. I handle civil domestic violence injunctions all day, every day. I see us all day, every day. And that is why I have remained in that division. Judges generally will circle out after about 2 years because it is a challenging division. But I've stayed to help families not to have to come before me again and again. I seek to address the underlying issues that brings them there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weeks.
Thank you. I'm Johnny Weeks, and I'm running for judge in Group 38. I'm originally from Virginia. I went to VMI, Virginia Military Institute. In the about fifth row back is my son Trey, and then Maria Weeks, who was just retired as a circuit court judge that you guys all voted for about 6 years ago. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I started off in the public defender's office. I worked alongside with Gordon Weeks. Al Schreiber was my boss back then, and then Howard Finkelstein. After I left the public defender's office, I moved into private practice where I've tried very serious criminal cases. I've helped out this community for over 25 years, and I've stuck with that, making sure that everybody gets their right day in court. Thank you.
Thank you. What makes you, while you're up, what makes you the best choice?
I believe I'm going to bring, I got the bad one. I believe I'm going to bring back respect and decorum back to the courtroom. I believe that sometimes at the courthouse, a lot of you guys don't know what goes on at that courthouse. You're not in there every single day. I'm in there every single day. There's numerous attorneys that are here today, former judges, retired judges that are here. There's bailiffs in the back of the courtroom that are here. And
they know what goes on in that courtroom, and they know that I'm the right choice for that division because of what's going on currently in that courtroom. I ask you, ask them before you leave today of what goes on in that courtroom and why we need to bring back respect and decorum and basically more humility inside that courtroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Moon?
I believe I'm the best choice to retain this seat because I do the job every single day. I make a concerted effort to make sure that every person who appears before me understands exactly what is going on in their case at every stage of the litigation. Most of the people who appear in domestic violence court are self-represented litigants. So I go out of my way to take the time to explain the law to them, as well as to address what brings them there. The primary issue is safety. I want to make sure that the litigants who appear before me, when they leave, they know their matters have been fully heard, fairly considered, and that they have a measure of safety when they walk out the door.
Thank you. American Bar Association of Florida Supreme Court encourages judges to be active in your communities as long as they don't violate the canons. What community activities are you currently engaged in?
Currently, I am a life member of the NAACP. I am an active member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, where we focus on literacy and scholarships for children. I'm an active member of the Lakes Incorporated, where we focus on maternal fetal health as well as education. I sit on the board of the American Red Cross for Broward County, so I actively help when we have those floods that we have been encountering quite a bit as of late. I also sit on the board of Funding Florida Legal Aid. I'm not allowed to sit on the legal aid board for Broward County anymore as a judge, but I do make efforts now to make sure that our legal aid programs get the funding that they need to help those in our community.
Mr. Weeks, your community activities that you're currently engaged in?
Sitting on the board is great. I think that's wonderful. I think you need to be actively engaging with people. And I've coached for the last 20 years, from soccer to football to lacrosse, to make sure that the individuals and the juveniles that are growing up in this community have somebody to look up to. I think that's extremely important because sometimes they don't have a father figure or mother figure at home, and their coach is the person that they need to look towards in order to give them that guiding light, to show them the right way and to go down a certain path. Thank you.
Thank you. And while you're up,
yes.
We know that the chief judge makes all of the division assignments, but if you could, what's your dream division assignment?
I've been thinking about that since you asked the first question about it. And I think the dream assignment for myself would be juvenile court. I started off with Judge Frank Orlando, who got me into law school and then got me my first job at the public defender's office. And retired Frank Orlando started what they called the Youth Policy Center here in Broward County. He also helped create AMI, was Associated Marine Institutes. They would bring underprivileged kids in, or kids that are doing bad in school, messing up, and they would bring them in and we would mentor them. Well, I worked there for numerous years. I also worked with Judge Frank Orlando, and I think my best suit would be the juvenile court, because I would love to make sure that we could stop these kids, or at least give them something before they turn the wrong corner. I think that's very important. They're still able to make sure that we can change their lives at the early stages. Thank you.
Judge Moon?
To be honest with you, I don't know that I have a dream division that I'd like to be assigned to. I've worked as both a criminal attorney as well as a civil attorney in both state and federal court, handling all types of different matters. So I have experience in a broad-based aspects of the court. I think the dream division should be the division where you feel like you have the greatest impact and you help the most people. And believe it or not, I'm already there. Domestic violence.
And while you're up, mental health has become an issue in every profession. What do you do to balance your work life?
Wow. I think work-life balance is a bit of a myth, to be frank with you. When our jobs require the dominant amount of our time, that's what we do. When our families require the dominant amount of our time, that's what we do. Trying to balance those two is a challenge every day. First and foremost, I get on my knees and I pray. I listen to a lot of jazz. Miles Davis got me through law school, and so it helps me to maintain my balance now while I'm at work. I bicycle, I read, and as much as possible, I'm a spa girl. So I like to get my hair done and my nails done and take care of myself. I think, quite honestly, if you care for yourself, then you have that reservoir to be able to care for others.
Mr. Wicks?
But I paddleboard a lot, but I think the most important thing is family. And my kids are here today, and I think I'm with them all the time. So that's what I think is the most important. That's what gives me balance and make sure that I'm there. Thank you.
And while you're up, what have you done in the last year to fulfill your requirement of 30 hours of pro bono free to the poor representation?
I'm a criminal defense attorney. So my 30 hours is much like some of the other criminal defense attorneys in this auditorium today, this church. I've given back. I've taken numerous cases. There's individuals that are here today that I've helped out in reference to some of those cases in which that they might not be able to afford my services, or I've other private defense attorneys have asked me to come and sit on a case with them because they needed my guidance, because I've been a trial lawyer for over 25 years. I've been helping out this community well before numerous individuals that have been before this church today. So my vast experience in helping those individuals has given this community and my pro bono work at its core. Thank you.
Judge Moon?
As was mentioned previously, the rules of the court do not permit sitting judges to do pro bono work. We're not permitted to represent people. But I do sit, as I stated, on the board for funding Florida Legal Aid. The last time I was able to do pro bono work, I did work through the Legal Aid, Coast to Coast Legal Aid, as well as working with the Florida Justice Association, each one teach one, each one lawyer take one case. I primarily worked in federal court assisting litigants there, and that was the time that I spent my last years as a lawyer.
Before you sit down, what makes you the best choice for this position?
I understand the distinction between criminal law and civil law. I bring that to the fore every day when I work on the bench as your circuit court judge currently. But even more so than that, I understand both the burden of judicial office and the privilege that it is to be in judicial office. I don't take my responsibilities lightly. I don't address the law in a casual or cavalier manner. I am very formal. I am very rule-based. But I also am empathetic. I'm a human being. I recognize that we all are. We all have challenges. But I think it's important to follow the rules, because the rules, everyone knows them, everyone follows them. It gives us an even basis to work from. More so than anything else.
Thank you. Mr. Weeks?
Thank you.
I would follow the law. Opponent in this particular case, in this auditorium, does not follow the law. She's reversed 5 times as many times as the other individual that's sitting in the other courtroom, Judge Kaplan. So I would indicate to this auditorium that I follow the law. It's one thing to sit up here and say, I have a lot of rules, but I think you need to follow the law. I think that's I'd also make sure that I gave respect to the individuals that come before me every day, not just the constituents that come in, the petitioner or the respondent, but also the bailiffs, the clerk that works in there. I would treat them all with respect. The lawyers that come in there. Doesn't make a difference who you are, but this courtroom is Broward County's courtroom. No one should be above it. And that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Please, I think you've answered. 1 minute closing.
I could sit up here and tell you everything about myself, or try to, or go to a website, but ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest, all right? There's individuals here tonight that I brought in that I think you should talk to. Take some time before you leave tonight. Some of them are wearing my t-shirts. Johnny McRae's here. Johnny McRae asked me this morning to cover a case for him. Why is he calling me to cover a case? Because he trusts me. And I think that if anybody wants a question of who the best candidate is for this particular seat, call him on the phone. This is your community, ladies and gentlemen. I've been working this community for 25 years. Everybody knows who Johnny Weeks is in the criminal defense community. And no matter what, you'll be proud of me if I win this spot. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Judge Moon.
I think you already are proud of me. I have served you for the past 5.5 years as a circuit court judge. I made those efforts. I put myself out there. I have been present with you through literacy issues, addressing scholarship issues, taking care of those who live around the corner, across the street, across the county. I'm a 5th generation native of this community, so my roots run deep. I understand who you are, I understand who I am, and whose I am, and the responsibility that I have serving on that bench, and that my actions reflect not only on me, but on you as well. I take those matters seriously, and I ask for your vote to be able to continue to represent you as a circuit court judge here in Broward County.
Thank you, judges. Pastor Trey here? Yes. Oh, come forth, sir. That was your closing. Ladies and gentlemen, these were the candidates. Group 38, Circuit Court. And we'll do our closing prayer with Pastor Trey, if you'll come. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I know that ballots are out. You should never just vote blindly. The candidates are here. You can ask additional questions. I know that all of them have websites, but there's nothing like meeting the person in person and asking those questions as you're looking at them in their eyes. We encourage you to stay informed and be an educated voter. Judges matter. We don't want to be sorry later on when it's much too late to do that. And if you will, Pastor Trey.
If you don't mind, can we all stand as we prepare to leave this place? One more time, let's bless the Lord for the NAACP Fort Lauderdale Broward branch, giving us this opportunity. President Ellison, the executive board, and all the members of the NAACP, as well as the judges who've come to actively participate and speak to our community. Let us bow our heads. As we prepare to leave this place, God, we ask that you do not leave us. God, in this coming election, we want to hear you speak, as well as these candidates. And God, give us a better community, give us a better home, give us a better environment, a community where we can work together in safety, love, and unity. Bless our going out the same way you blessed our coming in. In God's name we pray. In Jesus and all of our faiths we recognize and say, amen. Good night, everyone. Thank y'all so much. I don't. Okay, well, I can get you to the side.